Everyone, welcome. Take a minute or two to let everybody come on and then we'll get started. Cool. Okay. So thank you for coming tonight, everybody. Really, it's awesome that you are willing to give us your time. So this presentation tonight is a part of the HeatSmart webinar series. We'll tell you a little bit more about what HeatSmart is. This one is focused on energy efficiency with a focus on comfort and savings at home. And we'll get you started. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat. We've got a sort of a packed night tonight. We've got about 25 minutes of content for y'all. And we don't want to take too much of your time. So if you could put questions in the chat, we'll get to them as the presentation's going, or we'll address them at the end. If you're on the phone, please wait till the end and we will give you a chance to unmute and ask a question. So sit tight, and just want to show you this as a part of the webinar series. There's 6 total webinars, so we're on number 4. And then they're every 2 weeks on Thursday nights at 7, all at the same time. And you probably saw the other ones when you're signing up for this one, but don't forget about them because they're going to be great presentations as well from some of our other campaign partners across the state. And so now I'll pass to my co-host Erica to introduce herself.
Hi, welcome folks. Thanks for coming this evening. I'm one of your co-hosts. I'm Erica Herman. I am the campaign director of the HeatSmart Athletics South campaign, and I cover the counties of Schuyler, Seneca, Steuben, and Yates. And I'm going to go ahead and pass the measuring ball to Matt. Go right ahead, Matt.
Thanks, Erica. So I run the HeatSmart campaign for Monroe County in New York. And, essentially Erica and I work together on some outreach stuff. And as well as all the campaigns are connected, and we'll tell you a little bit more about that. But yeah, I've also got our spokesrodent, Doug Burrows, which you won't hear much about tonight, but he's cool. And I'll invite Ryan from Wise Home Energy to introduce himself as our guest presenter.
Hi, everybody. My name is Ryan Puckett. I'm a building analyst and operations manager with Wise Home Energy. This is a picture of our company pre-COVID. We've lost a few, but added a bunch more since then. Just a quick overview of our company. We are based out of Rochester, New York. We specialize in retrofitting existing houses and making them super energy efficient and then transitioning them to electrically operated. We get rid of fossil fuel systems in homes as much as possible. We also work with all different types of homeowners and different types of homes. We utilize any incentives and rebates, grants that are available to try to make it equitable for people to really improve their own houses and reduce their carbon emissions. We are very proud that we are a Home Performance with Energy Star Contractor of the Year as given by the Environmental Protection Agency and Department of Energy. We've won this award for the past 5 years and hope to continue to do so. We're also very proud to be part of the puzzle to reach New York State's goals to meet the Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act that's been laid out this year, and hope you guys will all join and be part of that puzzle as well.
Thanks, Ryan. And just want to mention, we'll hear from our other guest presenter later tonight who has a heat pump in her own home, and we'll introduce her later. So just a little bit about what the HeatSmart campaigns are. Essentially, we're clean heating and cooling community campaigns, and we're funded by NYSERDA. NYSERDA is New York State Energy Research and Development Authority. It's a state agency trying to move the state toward clean and renewable energy in a bunch of different sectors. And so heating your home is one of those sectors. And so we're basically trying to accelerate the transition toward more energy efficient homes and electrically heated homes with heat pumps, which are all electric and very energy efficient. And you'll hear more about those in other presentations. We're not really going to focus on them tonight, but heat pumps are awesome. So really, we're trying to help you make a good decision for you. We're supposed to be an unbiased, free public resource for you, basically, to help you access the incentives, the technologies. And so we're basically trying to help electrify homes and make them more energy efficient, increasing comfort and lowering energy bills and making them more safe. So there's over 20 programs all across New York State in different counties. I'm from Monroe County up here with this nice star near it. And Erica, again, is from HeatSmart, Finger Lakes South, covering these 4 counties that I can never remember the name of, but she'll tell you. Yeah, there's probably a HeatSmart campaign near you. So if you've got friends or family across the state, there's probably an option for them. And any of us would be happy to help you get connected to those local campaigns, or even just help you in general. So, oh, I did this last time. Okay, sorry, Erica.
You're good. So kind of thanks for hitting us off well with that, Nat and Ryan. But taking a bigger picture look at everything, average home energy use wise, there's a lot going on. 75% of our typical energy usage is for heating and cooling. Guess which percent is higher, heating or cooling? Heating. Lots of that going on. We're getting some sticky days, so also looking at some more cooling. So the average New York household is really paying about $2,500 a year in energy bills. That's a lot of money. That could cover a lot of different loans and a lot of various fun things. And that's just an average. That's between looking at like propane, oil, maybe you're heating with wood or pellets or coal. So that's just an average. So by updating your heating and cooling system to like a heat pump, it not only increases health and safety, but can save hundreds of dollars, if not a couple thousand. But really the first step is weatherization, and that's the bulk of what our presentation is going to be about tonight.
Question.
Oh, we're going to cover. Yeah,
will this presentation be available like these slides after? Yep. So you don't have to take
this next packet. Oh yeah, don't stress. We'll have you all covered. Don't worry.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. But yeah, where are we with this climate change thing? This is the big buzzword, our climate crisis that we're in. 30% of our greenhouse gas emissions are coming from our buildings. So places we play, live, work, shop, worship, etc. That's them. So by weatherizing homes, as mentioned, we keep kind of echoing the same messages. We're lowering heating and cooling HVAC costs. We're getting more comfortable and more. And really a large picture of it for New York State is what's called the New York State Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act. A little bit of a mouthful, CLCPA for short. We'll have to come up with a jingle for that one. But yeah, the main target is lowering greenhouse gas emissions by 85% by 2050, which seems like a lot, but don't worry because there's a lot of benchmarks from now till then, so we can do it together. So yeah, getting heat pump ready is what weatherization is all about, and then possibly getting a heat pump if it's a fit. So really we're going to be honing in on the building envelope tonight, looking at air, sealing, and insulation, so that we can be set up well for possible heat pump technologies, such as air ground source heat pumps for heating and cooling, or the heat pump water heater versions for domestic hot water. And to give us a fun analogy to kind of get in the zone of what that means. So I don't know about all of you, but I've been wearing cozy sweaters the last 2 days. I didn't think I was. So thinking about that, think about your coziest, coolest sweater you have. Maybe it has a wacky animal pattern on it. You head out the door and you're feeling pretty good about yourself. You know it's cold, but you're feeling good. You walk around the bed and you're not feeling so good about yourself because this cold burst of air goes right through your sweater. So you're like, oh my goodness. You huddle back to the door, get inside, and you put on a windbreaker. You head back out, you get yourself ready for that cold burst of wind, but you don't feel it because essentially you're doing what your house also wants. You are insulating yourself with your sweater, just like your house wants to be insulated, and you're air sealing yourself by using a windbreaker. So same things is what your house wants and will also keep you cozy. That insulation and air sealing we're going to be getting into and learning about some incentives to go along with that as well. But I think the next one up is Ryan, if I'm not wrong. Or no, it's Matt. Go for it, Matt.
Sure. So before Ryan goes, and Ryan's going to talk about energy audits and more technical details about insulating and air sealing your home. But just to share with you a little bit about how we work, how the HeatSmart campaign works, how you might interact with us is most of the HeatSmart campaigns follow this pretty simple formula. We want to have a one-on-one conversation with you about your goals, what you're interested in doing in your home, what opportunities that issues you might be having, things you already know that might make sense for your home. We'd want to talk about if you have a draft issues or ice damming, things like that. We would help you find a contractor locally that makes sense for what you're interested in and the type of equipment you have and are seeking to install, whether it's ground or air source heat pumps or weatherization or whatever, then we can schedule a home energy audit, help you to schedule that with a contractor. And then after that, we are really there to help you, make a decision and talk you through the options, make sure that, the quotes you get, you can understand, and we can help, answer any questions you might have from an unbiased perspective. So, and then it's up to you to make a decision and hopefully install a heat pump or, insulate your home or something like that. So if that makes sense for you. And now I'll pass to Ryan to talk about the contractor's contribution.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. And really everybody your local HeatSmart manager or your Matt Corona or your Erica are great people to really start with, because they are unbiased and they really do help hold people's hands along this whole process, because it is a journey. But once you make a decision on what contractor you want to come out and do an energy assessment on your home, the first step when we come into your house, besides asking you questions about how your existing home is right now, what your goals are, is to actually conduct an energy assessment. And everybody that lives in a home in New York State that pays an energy bill is eligible for a no-cost home energy assessment or a reduced cost home energy assessment. If there's any extra testing that should be done at your assessment, some contractors will charge a little bit extra. If you have specific issues with your heating systems, maybe some additional testing is necessary in order to fix something. So there are different ranges on what an energy assessment might cost, but everybody is eligible for a no-cost assessment where a certified Building Performance Institute professional will come out to your house and look for things like air leaks in the home. They'll either run a blower door air leakage test, which we'll talk about a little bit later, or just do a visual inspection about where air is leaking in and out of your home. They'll look for insulation levels in your home and hopefully use an infrared camera to actually see where there are voids or missing insulation behind your walls. And we'll also touch on that soon. They'll also look for health and safety issues that might be occurring. Like maybe there's carbon monoxide coming from your current furnace that really should be addressed, or maybe you have mold accumulating up in the attic space that you don't know about. We'll also check out existing appliance efficiency on your heating system, which is the biggest energy burden in your home, or your hot water tank, your refrigerators or air conditioners. And lastly, we'll always look for opportunities to electrify your house and give you options to replace your fossil fuel system with a heat pump system that can run off of renewable energy. Besides looking at just energy efficiency though, right? Because it's an energy audit. Our company likes to call them home performance assessments, because we're not just looking at the energy in your house. If you have a very energy efficient home, but it's causing issues like mold or mildew or asthma, there's a whole number of different things. Carbon monoxide builds up in your home. We're going to look at trying to create a healthy house for you as well at that energy assessment, point out things that might be causing issues in your home right now, and then give you recommendations for how you can improve them. The bottom right picture there of the window is actually my house. When I moved in, it's a 1960s ranch, and I had older windows that was getting a lot of condensation on them, and then I would have to wipe the windows off and I would get mold all over the place. And so on the left picture on the bottom is an indoor air quality monitor, where I was checking to see how bad the stuff in my house was that I was breathing. And I realized I need to do something about this. And I was actually able to replace the windows in my home, but that wasn't what got rid of the condensation. It was actually lowering the humidity and tightening my house up, so I wasn't getting so much of that hot, humid air in the summers in my house. So these are all things that a good contractor or your energy assessor is going to look for in your home, and things that if you're experiencing can be resolved. So blower door testing, I'm not sure how familiar everybody is here with what this is. So that picture in the middle is of a fan that we put in the front door of a home, and that will induce a pressure on your house. It basically simulates a 20-mile-per-hour wind on your home, so we can see where air is leaking in and out. And what really bothers me a lot is people call up and say, oh no, I've replaced my windows, my home doesn't leak anymore. Well, that's probably not true. The majority of the air leakage in your house is probably up through the attic through stack effect. And with that, moisture can transfer into your attic and cause mold buildup. And in the summertime, that stack effect is reversed, and then hot, humid air from your attic is actually going to come down into your house and bypass that old insulation and all that other nasty stuff that's probably up in your attic and bring that into your home. So you really want to seal up all these leaks to create a more healthy home, as well as a more environmentally friendly home, one that's going to cost you less to operate, and one that's got a lower carbon footprint. So one thing we look for is the air changes per hour in your house. And when we put this fan in the front door, how much of your home gets cycled, the air gets cycled in and out of your house in a certain time frame. And if you don't know what your blower door number is right now, or your air changes per hour, I really encourage you guys to look at having one of these tests done. If you can tighten up your home to 7 air changes per hour or less, your house is probably going to be heat pump ready, and it'll work very efficiently and comfortably to install a heat pump system. For example, new code right now, if you build a home, you have to be less than 3 air changes per hour. Or if you want to get to a passive house standard, that's 0.6 air changes per hour. That's a super tight, super energy efficient home. And your energy assessor is probably going to look for this type of stuff at the assessment. Okay. Also, something that's very cool that most people don't have access to is an infrared camera. And this can really show you a ton of different things in your house that really should be addressed. The picture on the top left is something we see all the time, where you think, oh, this looks beautiful. I have a nice new kitchen, but my installer that remodeled my kitchen didn't add insulation, and you're just constantly losing heat, and maybe the kitchen's uncomfortable. Or if you have an older house, you might have had blown in insulation done at one point, and that might have settled down, and maybe it's time to reinstall it. Lastly, that picture in the bottom left, the black and white one, is of an attic hatch. And if that's not weather stripped and sealed, constantly you're getting air leaking in and out of your house. And this picture was taken with a blower door test, so you can really see where the air and moisture is coming and transferring from inside to outside. We really want to control all that so you can have a comfortable home. And we also want to look at insulation, right? Besides air tightness, you want to have a well-insulated house. And there's a number of different ways to do that. This house, for example, has some crawl spaces, has a basement. There's a little knee wall area where you might have storage upstairs, and an attic, sloped ceiling. You really want to look at creating a complete thermal boundary on your home with an air barrier that's in line with the insulation in your house. And that's what's going to create the most energy efficient home, the most comfortable home. And your energy assessor is well versed in how to identify what the best way to insulate and air seal your house is. And as Erica had mentioned before, with the picture of the sweater and the windbreaker, you want to have both of those things. To be honest, I would rather live in a completely uninsulated house that's very airtight, because it's going to be much more comfortable. But if you can have both of those things, you're going to have the best of both worlds and the most efficient house you possibly can have. So we always recommend to look, start with the energy assessment, see how efficient your home is right now, see how leaky it is, see if there's voids in the insulation, and then get the weatherization work done first. You really don't want to go ahead and install a new heating system, whether it's a furnace or a heat pump, before you take a look at the house. Because if you can make your home more energy efficient, you can install a smaller system that costs a little bit less for heating and cooling your home, that is just going to do a much better job, and it's designed properly for your house. But if you install a heating system first and then go back and insulate, you're going to have an oversized system. You're going to pay more for that system. So really, you want to have the energy assessment done and look at the weatherization work you can do first. And that's going to be the most bang for your buck and comfort improvements in your house as well.
So thank you, Ryan. And Ryan, at the end, we've got some good questions in the chat, so I'll invite you to answer those at the end. But I'm going to talk a little bit now about the affordability of some of these upgrades. And so, so first, some of the incentives that are available. First thing is really that no cost home energy audit that someone like Ryan is able to do, and a good contractor should be able to talk you through some of what they're looking at. And, you should come away with some good information, I hope. So those energy audits, that would be the first step. And then from there are some grants you can access, some of which are income-based, some of which are available to everybody. And I'll talk more about those on the next slide. There's also some low interest financing available from New York State, especially if you are able to fall in those income programs, because they're like guaranteed a really low interest rate. So, but there's great financing in general that can be used for any energy efficiency projects. And from time to time, there's local grants and resources that come up. So we, as our local HeatSmart campaign managers, we try to stay in touch with that. So yeah, get in touch with your campaign, because there might be more beyond this stuff. And so a little bit of specific info about those grant programs. There's these first 3 grants that are available from NYSERDA. That's the same state agency that funds our campaigns, and we help people take advantage of their resources. So these first 2 up top are the income-based programs, and they're really 2 tiers of the same program. So there's Empower New York, which is the lower income tier program. You can get up to $10,000 for insulating and air sealing. It's really awesome if you could, if you're under the income limits, and they're higher than you might think. So for a family of 4, it's under $63,000. A lot of retired folks on a fixed income might qualify for these. I think for a family of 2, I think it's 43,000 or something close to that, but it's different based on the county. So you should look online, and there'll be a link to that in the chat where you can type in your county and a number of people in your household that gives you the income. So really,
we have a cheater chart later on, Matt, so don't worry. We'll show.
Okay, great. And if you get in touch with, part of the benefit of our working with our campaigns is we can help you figure out which resources make sense for you, what you qualify for, and what doesn't make sense or something. So so there's those 2 great income-based grants, and then that third one down, the NYSERDA Comfort Home Program, that's available to anybody. So regardless of your income, you can get up to $4,000 depending on what upgrades you opt for, what makes sense for your home. So if you do the full package, which is attic, rim joist, wall insulation, and I think windows, you can get up to $4,000, which is great. So it's really meant as like complimentary money to improving your home energy efficiency. And then we've also listed the Weatherization Assistance Program, which is not through NYSERDA. This is through a federal grant, and it's specific to your area, which agency to contact for that. But that's another program that we can help you take advantage of if it's applicable to you. So please get in touch with your HeatSmart campaign locally if you're interested in any of these resources. And now I'll invite Nancy.
Yeah, so we are extremely excited, and I feel very privileged. Again, I'm Erica Herman with the HeatSmart FLX South campaign, and Nancy is one of the residents, one of my first residents that I actually worked with when our program was in its infancy. And Nancy lives over in Burdett in Schuyler County. And Nancy has a lot of great things to share about her experience. So Nancy, why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about what went on with your home? And I'm sure we'll have tons more questions in the Q&A session. But tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of a little bit of an overview. I think Nancy's muted. Let me see if I can get her unmuted.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Well, we're really excited. We just went through our first winter with heat upstairs, and that was pretty cool. We were able to use the whole upstairs now in the winter. The thing that I want to say about the heat pump is how consistent the heat is. And I put temperatures all through the whole house, and it's amazing, even with a hard north wind off the lake. It's very consistent heat. Heretofore, we had propane, little propane stove, which didn't help much. And then we had the pellet stove, which we no longer able to lift the pellets. And that was just an intense heat that would go from about 110 and you're too hot, and then you couldn't cool it down very much. So the heat pump's been wonderful, but also the insulation, it's a cottage and it was never meant to be a home. And so we had really been struggling, and the weatherization came in and there were cracks in the ceiling where we just had used pressed wood. And so the two doors, the entry doors, they did a fabulous job of insulating. And so, yeah, we're really happy with the program, and we didn't cost us anything. We're really happy.
Yeah, Nancy got a little over $8,000 worth of work. She and her husband Charlie went through the Empower New York program. And at the time there was an adder program, and there's a lot of pop-up adder things, just like Matt said, of adder programs. So Nancy was also, sneak peek, this is from our presentation, but able to get a free air source heat pump. And then how does, Nancy, is your cat pretty happy with the home upgrades? I remember when we visited.
Well, I forgot to mention, they discovered our water heater, which was in a little building still attached, but it was had an interior door on the outside, and it wasn't weatherized enough. We had hired somebody years ago to do it, and it just had all this air escaping, and our bill was really high. And so they came in and sprayed the insulation. But the most amazing thing, they looked everywhere for a ready-made door. And when they couldn't find it, they made the door for us. And we were really so impressed with that.
And I love in the picture, Nancy, I stole that picture of you that's standing in front of it. But yeah, you can see like the cottage home, and you see all that white stuff that looks like snow. That is spray foam to keep that, help keep that heat from the water heater going into the home.
And
you can see
insulated the door too.
Yeah, it's really thick foam, isn't that?
Door.
Yeah, awesome. Well, Nancy has a lot more that she can share with us. So please, we'll open up more for Nancy to chat with us during the Q&A. So if you have questions for Nancy, please start putting those in the chat. And Nancy, thank you so much.
Thank you.
But yeah, so from chatting with Nancy, from looking at the various infographics with Ryan and hearing from Matt, it's really a win-win with weatherization work. Benefits are numerous. I'm sure there's even more than the few bullet points that I put on here. So we have cost savings. We have having a cozier home year round, also being able to finally heat to the temperature that you actually need to not get a cold, to feel comfortable, like heating to like a real life temperature instead of having to keep it super cold to afford to heat. Increasing health and safety, as Ryan said, keeping mold and other items out that could be coming in through vacuum effects, lowering our carbon footprint, and also having a great positive impact on your community. I like that puzzle reference Ryan had as well. So a lot of great benefits here, folks. So key takeaways, quite a few. So HeatSmart is here to help you reach your energy goals. As Matt mentioned, there's a bunch of us throughout the state. If you don't see one in your state, we'll make sure you still get connected to the right resource person, so don't worry about that. Weatherization, again, is the basic building blocks. We saw the cute little dog of having a cozy and healthy home, and really support our work by engaging, come to some events we're gonna be going to, spread the word, become a volunteer, tell friends and family members, and join our network.
And I just wanna remind you that we have 2 more webinars in this series. Again, they're 2 weeks from now, and then 2 weeks from that. So they're all Thursday night at 7 p.m. In 2-week intervals. May 12th and May 26th are the next and last webinars. And I just want to leave you with the way to get started is get a no cost, no obligation home energy audit. Your local HeatSmart campaign can help you do that. Or if you don't know who that is, you can get in touch with either me or Erica, and we'd be happy to either help you ourselves or point you in the right direction. So yeah, please get in touch with us. We'll be sharing the slides after, and here is our contact information.
Yay, so for folks who are, in case you're calling in or can't see the screen, again, I'm Erica Herman, the HeatSmart Athletic South Campaign Director. I know we saw in the chat, I cover against Skylar, Seneca, Steuben, and Yates. My email for general is heatsmartflxs@cornell.edu, and I can be reached at my office number 607-535-7161, 535-7161. And my extension is 3223. I also have a texting number, so I'm trying to make things nice, accessible for folks. And we are also online at heatsmartflxsouth.org, and you can find us on Facebook.
And I'll also read my contact information for anyone on the phone. Again, my name is Matt Corona. You can email me at matt, M-A-T-T, at climate, GFL, as in Genesee Finger Lakes.org. My number is 585-340-7047, 585-340-7047. You can also text me if that's easier for you. And you can also find us online at HeatSmartFLX, as in fingerlakes.org. You can also sign up for a scheduled phone call on our website, which is probably the best way to get in touch with me. We're also on Facebook.
Mm-hmm. And I think that map is interactive. That leaves the link that our colleague Scott put in the link. So if you click on those sections, it also pulls up like our contact information. So makes it fun.
Okay.
So for Buffalo, who would be the better person to contact for the Buffalo area?
I believe that's Push Buffalo. And that's Sarah Berger, I believe, right, Scott?
Yeah, well, actually, Michael Johnson is the contact.
Oh, Michael Johnson.
But I just put a link to their campaign in the chat, Irene.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Well, I was thinking of Erica or Matt. You know.
Sure.
Thank you for putting that up.
Yeah.
I don't think we mentioned Scott is our program manager from NYSERDA. So he's like here as a support role. Sorry if I didn't say that earlier. Hey, Scott.
Yeah, Scott. We love Scott. He's amazing. He keeps us all going together. So thank you.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Thanks for coming, everybody.
Yeah. And Scott, I know we had a ton of questions. I see 43 different comments in the chat. Would you be able to pull some out for us?
Yeah,
I know
sure.
Ryan had a couple.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, a lot of them were me sharing links to different things. Matt, you would plan to tee up Anne's comments for Ryan. Do you want to do that, or do you want me to?
I've sort of lost in the chat. If you have, I can wait. Hold on. Okay. Okay. So I think these are probably best for Ryan to answer these. So I guess both questions are kind of similar. Anna is asking how do you insulate a roof if you've got a flat roof? And then the other question was, what kind of insulation can you do if you don't have an attic? And they're sort of similar questions.
Wow. All right. Both great questions. And you might have stumped me. The answer always is it depends, I guess. It really depends on what type of roof assembly you have. If it's a sloped roof, you said flat roof. If there's really no insulation existing already or no space to add insulation, then maybe the only thing you could do would be to add insulation on top of the roof. And the best time to do that is when you're going to get a new roof installed. So I actually had someone call today from Rochester saying, I'm going to have a complete tear off on my 3-story city home with a finished 3rd floor and cathedral ceilings. And there's old fiberglass bats in the attic. And he's like, oh, I have to get a new roof because I have ice dam issues and water is leaking in. And he's like, can we add additional insulation? Is this the best time to do it? And I said, yes, absolutely. It is going to be more of an investment, but doing it right now when the roof is off is really the best time to do it. So that might be what Anne and Abby want to take a look at. If you guys have specific questions on your own house, I'd be happy to talk about that now, or feel free to give me an email as well. I'll put my email in the chat. Spray foam is one good option. Another good option might be blown in fiberglass insulation, but it really depends on if there is an actual space where you can add insulation or if you need to add insulation on top of the roof itself.
I'm the one that asked about the flat roof, and I've had the roof redone with membrane twice, and each time they have replaced any plywood that was, well, only the first time that was the plywood bad, but then they put rigid insulation on top of that. I doubt that there's any space below. I also have 4 skylights.
Skylights are great. They're also, from an energy standpoint, not the best. But the rigid insulation that you put on is exactly what I was referring to and recommending, and have you noticed a difference in the bills or comfort of your house since you've had that done?
Not really. I hadn't
Not
been
really.
paying attention before. It was done, the last time it was done was, I think, about 8 years ago.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
I also
would-
have new windows, which I do notice there's no condensation.
that's good. I was super happy with my house when I found that out when I replaced my windows. But
But I think I've got leaks other places.
yeah, definitely, contact a HeatSmart campaign or a local contractor that works.
Who's
within
in
certain
Tompkins
programs.
County?
That's Lisa Marshall.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Can we talk about renters?
Yeah, Matt, do you want to do that or do you want me to do that?
Sure.
one?
Yeah. No, so I deal with a lot of renters. So, you can have an energy audit done of your property, or as a renter, you can have an energy audit done. You can have a better audit done if you get your landlord on board. Especially if it's a multifamily, having access to the different units would definitely provide a more comprehensive audit. If we do get your landlord on board, you're still entitled to those grant programs, especially are really helpful. So the landlord could get, it's kind of like a win-win situation. And most landlords I've talked to are really on board once we explain what we want to do, because the audit is free. That's a really great entry point. And then they can use that those if any of their tenants qualify for those grant programs, the income level is based on the utility payer. So in most cases, that's the tenant. And so it's kind of a win-win because the landlord can get, free money toward upgrades on the home, and then the renter would pay lower, cost of utilities. So, if you wanted to get your landlord on board, I'm sure either.
Oh, I'm a landlord.
Oh, you're the landlord.
Nice.
Okay.
Nice. And actually they did change that recently, Matt, because I found that out through trial and error. It doesn't matter who pays the utility anymore, so they'll still look at the renters.
Oh, it doesn't.
income.
Okay.
Mhm.
I had my,
It was a happy surprise that I came across recently.
I had my tenter, well, anyway.
Ryan?
Eric, I have a question. Does it matter to access any incentives who pays the utility bill? Do you know
No.
that? Nice. That's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, no, it doesn't matter. It used to, but now it doesn't. So if you had a tenant who, for example, just as an easy one, was on heat, for example, then it would be based on their income would be like up to $10,000 of free eligible upgrades. Say the person was a renter and their income, we'll just say it's a single family, just for ease of conversation, and say their income was over that amount, it would be that 50-50 matching incentive up to $5,000. So obviously the tenant wouldn't be expected to pay that. So what it would look at is the landlord would cover that up to $5,000, and then NYSERDA would match the amount. But it's nice because with that program, there's a bit more flexibility in kind of picking what work gets done to some extent.
Can
Matt,
some-
did you want to add anything to that? Pat, is yours like a single family or multi-unit?
It's a single family.
Okay.
And so if we could totally, if you just get in touch with your HeatSmart campaign, they can help you figure out what makes sense for your renter landlord situation. But most likely, you could take advantage of the same programs that you could if you were just a homeowner.
Mhm. Definitely.
And Pat, kudos for being interested in that, because we work with a lot of landlords that are not really interested in putting their rental homes through these programs or insulating them. Or
That's crazy.
it is crazy, and I don't understand, because it is a win-win for everybody. And we've had so many people that have actually improved their house and then have called back like a year or two later and said, "Oh, my tenants used to move out every 6 months because it was so uncomfortable and their bills were so high, and now they're staying longer term, and it's great." So
Yeah. And then Abby, did you have questions? Sorry, we did clarify your question about if the renter's income is high. So if the renter's income is higher than the owner, so it kind of depends. So it will depend, like say it's like a multi-unit building and the owner is income eligible, it would be treated differently. Matt, since you have a little more experience with renting, did you want to add on to that comment? If the renters, income is higher than the owner? Because it's based on like who actually lives in the building.
Yeah, it's the person, yeah, who lives there essentially, who's on the utility bill. Or
However, and not to make things confusing,
There's a lot of
if the
nuance.
landlord is eligible for any of the NYSERDA incentives, I am 95% sure they're still able to access those incentives for their rental house.
Yeah, basically when you have those interesting situations, you can reach out to us and we'll dig to get the answers you need for that. Because each situation is going to be a little bit differently unique, and we'll go through the nuances to make it easier for you.
Thing I do want to add actually on the income-based programs is that there are some places, and this is, I don't know if there's any in your location, Erica, but in the city of Rochester that are automatically eligible regardless of your income. And another thing is if you're on HEAP, then that means, so they call that categorically eligible, meaning that if you're on HEAP, you can automatically get enrolled in those programs. You just have to show that you're on HEAP.
Anyone in the household. So the income combined could be over, but if someone has SNAP or HEAP in the household, even the income is over, it can make them eligible. Someone was saying, hey, I had an energy audit about 7 years ago. Can I get another one? The answer is yes. Most definitely.
And then,
go ahead. I'm just looking at other questions. Go ahead, Matt.
Randall, I was gonna answer your question. I was just typing something out, but it's hard to double focus on two things. But yeah, unfortunately there's no campaign like specifically for Nassau County, but I'm sure if you got in contact with the New York County campaign or the Bronx County campaign or any of those campaigns that are in that area, they'd be happy to help you. I'm sure contractors in New York City would probably, be able to get out to Nassau, and most of the information would be fairly consistent.
And we also, there's kind of a bit of a counterpart program called CEEP, which is short for Community Energy Engagement Program. And they do a lot of similar work to us. So in a pinch, if you're not sure, like you can also get hold of us and we'll look at the map, be like, this is your CEEP person. It's a little bit different, but very similar with overlap too. So between what Matt recommended and that, you'll be covered. Someone was saying, Faith was saying, this is, I think, a Ryan question. Are there ways to insulate a crawl space besides spray foam insulation products? You might have covered that a little earlier, but just make sure you get that.
Yes, there are. Which product is going to depend. Which product is the best is going to depend. Real quick, for the Nassau County, Randall, Green Team LI is a contractor in Long Island, and they're super reputable. Definitely recommend reaching out to them. But back to crawl spaces. One of the issues in crawl spaces is moisture buildup. So one good thing about spray foam is that it's not going to adhere or collect any of that moisture. It's going to be able to kind of keep it out of the crawl space or minimize it from coming in. Whereas if you put in a fibrous type of insulation, even fiberglass or cellulose, that can collect that moisture and create mold. So it really depends on your specific crawl space, which type of insulation product is going to be the best. One kind of in-between product is Roxol. It's actually a spun rock. So it doesn't collect moisture, and it's kind of in between fiberglass or cellulose and spray foam. And that might be a good product for you. But with crawl spaces, you really want to control moisture, keep the humidity out, and then seal it up as best as possible to make it comfortable and not have any adverse health consequences to it.
Someone was also asking, and I apologize if I missed anyone's questions, please speak up. But we have a lot of great stuff going on here. Someone was asking more about the door. So just to be transparent, doors are not traditionally something that is covered under NYSERDA energy programs. However, sometimes to be able to do work that has to be done, you will get some measures that are covered if it helps with health and safety and to get the work done. So for example, with Nancy's situation, where her hot water heater was on the outside, essentially of her building in kind of like a separate space being connected in. The only way to get that, insulated properly was also then insulating and replacing the door. So and Ryan might be able to explain this a little better, but there are situations where to get the work that's done necessarily, there can be replacement, but regular in general doors are not, like if you have a general front door and something on traditional home, that's generally not a covered measure. Ryan, do you want to explain that a little more? Because I know you had some experience.
Yeah, if you're trying to utilize the incentives, NYSERDA allows for weather stripping for most homes, so we can try to seal up the door a little bit and make it more airtight. But oftentimes they're not going to recommend or incentivize replacing doors themselves. One thing I do recommend though, for especially people that are receiving heating assistance or are income eligible for the Empower New York program, is to go through the Empower New York program and get all of the weatherization work you possibly can done to the home, and then apply with your local WAP agency or weatherization agency. And they can access different funding sources and come in after, and then maybe look at some of those things that were missed or weren't able to be improved upon. So, maybe a Empower contractor could insulate your home, and then a weatherization contractor could come in and look at the doors and possibly the windows. I can't guarantee anything, but that
I'll ask to go through
projects do
approvals,
happen.
right? Scott, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I just want to pass along a question that came in from Lisa Owen. She'd like to know if a NYSERDA audit is required to participate in, or I'm sorry, if an audit is required to participate in NYSERDA programs.
Matt, you want to take that one?
Oh my gosh, I was trying to read the.
Oh, no, you're okay. Yeah, so go ahead, Ryan.
You got it, Erica. I think you got it.
All right, yeah, so so usually when you sign up to access these incentives, you would do an energy audit as a prerequisite, because that's the opportunity where the energy auditor like Ryan or another team member of ours would come into home to figure out what's actually going on in the home. So that's where it's like the actual assessment for like 1 to 3 hours, where it's a pulling of information. It's really fun. You can really bond with your home because you've lived in it. You can chat about what's going on, and then Ryan or someone similar can come and be like, oh, well, this is why this is happening. This is why it's cold. This is why there's these issues, and come up with solutions. And then we utilize those different programs that you would be eligible for to get some of the work done. I'm trying to see, we have a lot of awesome questions. I think someone had another question. There's been a couple solar questions, so we'll just kind of go through those quickly. I think someone was asking if anyone knows the rough cost. Was it to take off the panels to then maybe get insulation work done underneath? Was that the question? Sorry, it was a little bit ago.
I think that was Melanie. Melanie, you want to maybe unmute yourself and clarify your question? If you don't mind, I know it's hard. Yeah, it should be the lower left-hand corner.
Okay. Oh, hi. I apologize. It's a little off the beat. Pat. I forgot now what I was asking.
I think it had something to do with solar panels, and if something had to be.
I would like to consider this, but add solar panels. But people have scared me saying that if you have to have your roof changed, then you have to take the panels off, change the roof, and then put them back on. And I'm wondering, well, maybe community solar is just a better idea. Do you have a comment about that? Has anybody had that experience where, because roofs only last a certain time, obviously, they're protected so much by solar panels, but at some point the edges, you're going to have some repair eventually.
I would say like timing takes an effect. Like if your roof is getting pretty old in the first place, it might be good to replace that first, before putting panels on, and kind of timing that well. I'm thinking some good old insulation in there when you do it. The other option is if that is something that is a stress, there is a bit of a premium price, but you could also look at a ground mounted system if you did on-site solar. And then of course there is the purchase community solar, if that's what you're most comfortable with. Also, if you don't have a good south facing or good sunny area, the purchase community solar is where you own the panels on the property, and then subscription community solar is where you just subscribe to them to get like a 5 or 10% off, for example. So does that
5 to 10% off? Is that what it is for communities?
In general, it'll vary a bit, but
okay.
Yeah.
What have solar panels been around long enough to have people comment about that? I mean, I don't know how much it costs because it's got to be less than the solar panels themselves, right? I mean,
yeah.
obviously.
Definitely. I'll just kind of sum up a bit of an answer, and definitely, Melanie, please feel free to reach out to get like a more in-depth answer from one of us.
Okay.
We're more than happy to go more in depth with it. It's really fun. I could go on and on. So
yeah, okay.
We'll talk about, but it's going to vary on the size of your house, It's going to vary quite a bit. You might need to add on more if you decide to do a heat pump later, or you could calculate it out to have extra. So there's going to be a lot of factors, and it's also going to really depend on what incentives you can access. The bulk of incentives are based on tax liability right now. So sometimes you can like half the price, but if you can't access those incentives, it can be a bit more upfront.
There's still incentives for solar panels? Still?
Yeah, get hold of one of us after the program. We'll get you connected
Oh,
to
okay.
resource.
Okay,
Yeah, definitely.
okay, all right.
Lolita, would you like to go ahead?
Yeah, I wanted to comment on the solar panel discussion. I've had solar panels on my house for 10 years, and they paid for themselves in about 4 or 5 years because, you know, with all the incentives you get at that time I got 30% off of federal, but now it's 26%. And then you get the 5% off, the $5,000 off of the other thing. I have a heat pump, an electric vehicle, and I have solar panels, and I'm considering adding a little bit more simply because when I got them added 10 years ago, I didn't have a heat pump or a EV, but now I do. So I'm thinking about adding it. And what I wanted to make a comment about is when you have your own solar panels, your bill can go down to just the connectivity charge. When you go for community solar, you only get 10% off. So most of your delivery charges and the electricity charges are still there. And when you're referring to a roof, if you're gonna get solar panels, you should first get your roof taken care of because eventually you'll have to anyway. So make sure your roof is in good condition, and then you get the solar panels on, and you can be set for the next 25, 30 years.
Yeah. This is a great discussion. I want to make sure we cover the rest of our like kind of weatherization, and then we have time and we'll kind of loop back if that's okay with folks. Tracy, did you have a comment?
Yes, I did. That the New York State Public Service Commission only allows there to be one source of, they call it distributed generation on an account, a residential account. So that when you have solar panels, that is distributed generation, you are adding energy into the grid. And if you get community solar, that is adding energy into the grid. So those two sources of distributed generation, which is not allowed. That needs to change because most people who live in the city like I do cannot put enough solar panels, even if Perkovites make the efficiency of solar panels go from 20%, which they are now, up to 30%, be able still to have an electric car, heat pump hot water, heat pump cooling and heating, efficient refrigerator, and induction stove, and convection
Getting all
fan
everything
stove.
electrified,
If
yeah.
you want to do
No.
an electric vehicle and charge it, you're not going to be able to cover everything, certainly with your 10,000 kilowatts a year that you can produce on 600 square feet of roof. So living in the country, you can expand your solar for that, but not here. We need to change the rules, and community solar subscription people are the ones who cover their costs of doing the subscription by saying, we'll give you 10% of whatever Con Ed gives you in money, but they never say what kilowatt hours. So that's the thing. Oh, what's a kilowatt hour? I don't know how many pennies are in a dollar. So I'll let
Tracy,
it go. Thank you.
No, it's okay, Tracy. Yeah, it's going to be different. So very good question. No, there's a lot of these different topics we definitely would love to delve into deeper, but please stay tuned because we might have partner programs coming up with those. So thank you for your contributions for those folks. We did have another Ryan question. Can you air seal an attic without using spray foam, or what other options are available?
Yes, absolutely. And I'm not sure if you're talking about like the two-part closed cell foam that you see on a lot of underside of roofs where you're spraying a ton of this in, and it's a petroleum-based product, so it's not great for the environment. But there is can foam that you can use to seal up all the penetrations, which is a lot less energy intensive to produce. There's also, caulk. You can take caulk up into an attic and seal up all the seams and really just stop the air leakage that way. So our company does a lot with air sealing with caulk or with mastic, which is something you put on ductwork down in the basement, and that stops any air movement and moisture movement up into an attic space. So absolutely.
I had a question about being able to watch past programs because I'm interested in learning more about an induction stove. So is there a way to watch earlier programs? that I
Yep.
missed? No?
Definitely. We'll make sure to have a link in the follow-up, but there are on the Renewable Heat Now YouTube page, because they're one of the big folks who got these sessions going. We're gonna have the recordings. Also, there's gonna be we're gonna be following up with the slide deck presentation as well in the link. But yeah, you'll be able to view past ones. And then I don't know where it's housed on all the websites, but I know our website, we've been posting the recordings and the PDF. So we'll make sure that goes out in the packet.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Ryan, any way to judge where to get a good door? I know this is a very general question, but.
To judge where you can get a good door?
Very general question.
No, I do not have the answer for that one.
Yeah, and they're going to be really different. Like, for example, mobile homes, a lot of times with the sister federal program for weatherization assistance program, it's more common to get door replacements for mobile home styles just because it provides a lot bigger of like a positive impact than it might on like a traditional home too. So sorry, I don't have an exact answer for that, but definitely, like Ryan said, reach out to our programs and then we can see what other programs can be done in tandem to see what all can be covered. And then we've had a ton of awesome questions. I apologize, we've been trying to sift through. Scott or anyone else or any folks, if there are weatherization related questions that we missed, if you are comfortable either re-popping it in the chat or unmuting yourself, we would be happy to answer that.
Yeah, honestly, I think Erica, we got them all. But let me ask the audience if there's anybody who asked a question that maybe I missed in the chat.
Scott, your little one has a question.
Yeah, he does.
Oh, yeah. I have one more.
Go
One more.
ahead, Melanie.
It was about the spray foam. Is it enough if there's actually a gap there for the spray foam?
Because your question was your home's partially cantilevered over the basement. The plywood on the horizontal portion wasn't well constructed, unfortunately, but there's 2 spots that you can see light from outdoors peeping in. So is sealing it with foam enough, or are critters just gonna find a way to make a hole and kind of get in there?
That's a good question. So if you can see light coming in, you're going to want to add additional insulation and seal it up somehow, whether you use caulk and add insulation or just install spray foam. And in your instance, probably would recommend 2 inches of closed cell spray foam, which would be about an R14. And pests really don't like to eat through it or dig through it. They don't. And you don't need to fill the whole cantilever space. If you have 2 or 3 inches where the inside of your home meets the outside, if you poke a nail through that piece of plywood, you want to make sure the insulation is right there. So at least 2 to 3 inches of closed cell foam would probably be the best option for you.
Oh, we mean 2-3 inches above. I was going to fill the whole gap, actually. I mean, the whole cantilevered portion. No?
You wouldn't need, it would probably be a waste of material and money, honestly.
Really? Oh,
Yep.
just 3 inches over the out part and the lower part that goes over.
Correct. Yep.
Oh,
And then you actually want a little bit of that airflow. Maybe it's a basement cantilever where you have some.
Yeah, it says a basement. It's very oddly built. I mean, it's not that far from the ground, but it's over.
Right. So your basement.
Mice have gotten in to the insulation. I took the insulation out and saw all of that, the gaps. No wonder mice got in.
Right.
Yeah.
People call us all the time to keep snakes out of their home, and spray foam is really a good option for that.
Yeah, I'm looking into that because we just bought a house and I hear a tick, 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 tick at like 10 at night. And I'm like, oh, we're gonna have to call someone to do an audit soon.
Seal them up.
Another question, someone was asking, is moss on the roof harmful? I know when we had our home inspection, home inspector wise, which is a different perspection, they were saying like, hey, maybe cut down those branches that are overhanging because that's causing the moss to grow and getting cold spots. Ryan, any impacts that you're aware of? And then Pat, I saw your hands, so make sure we get you.
I have moss on my roof. It's something that I try to address and kind of manage. I have a lot of trees. It's just going to eat away and ruin your shingles or your roof a little bit faster than it would if you didn't have that moss. I don't think it's harmful from a health standpoint, but from a building durability standpoint, yes, I would think it would be.
All right. And Pat, did you have your hand raised?
Yes, I did. What do you think about that double reflected bubble insulation? Is that worth anything? I'll tell you what, I have a brick house where I was told, I was looking at InsoFast systems, but I've also been told if you insulate a outside brick wall, you could end up with problems. So I was considering the reflective bubble.
Where would you put the reflective bubble?
Right on the wall, and I don't know what I would do to decorate it. I mean,
I work in a block construction home, and we have put that reflective bubble up on the inside. It has helped a little bit. It definitely makes the radiant heat from your body. It doesn't get sucked off and attached to the wall. Like you will feel more comfortable, yes. But there is also an injection foam if you do have a cavity in the wall in the brick that we offer and another number of other contractors offer. And we haven't had any issues with it. We've had great success with improving the efficiency and comfort of homes by injecting that foam product into the wall itself. And I know we've talked a lot about foam. It's a great product. I'm not a huge proponent of it. There's a lot of different insulation materials that you can use, but foam really is kind of the cure-all easy solution. Right?
Yeah, dense packed cellulose is great. It's recycled newspapers. They'll put it in so tight that you really have to go at it to get it out. So there's great technology to make sure that it really stays in place nowadays.
okay.
And before I'm going to throw a link in right now. This is something that I've kind of compiled over the years. There's a lot of links to the different NYSERDA programs and assessments and financing, but if you scroll down a little bit, there's a bunch of educational videos on heat pumps and blower door testing. It's actually pretty fun videos to watch. Some are only a couple minutes, some are 30 minutes, but I encourage everybody to take a look.
Great. Well, thank you so much. I wanted to give a huge thank you to my co-host, Matt. It made it so much more fun presenting, and you can actually see the screen and see everyone's faces instead of being in presenter mode and being like, I think there's people there. And also a big shout out, Ryan. Matt, thank you so much for finding Ryan. He was super fun to present with and extremely informative. We're very lucky to have him with the NYSERDA family. Scott, thank you for co-hosting and managing all the amazing questions and dropping those links. And everyone for having great questions. And I did want to say, like, I did enjoy the solar conversation. So please, if you have more questions on that, feel free to reach out to us. We will get you connected to the right resources if we did not touch those. So good points brought up by everyone. Matt, I think the chat gets saved, right? I think Lisa will get a copy because I know someone wanted it saved. Okay, great. Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone. Matt, do you have any other words? I'm sorry, I stole the show a little bit.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay.
I wish everyone the best of luck. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Much
Bye.
appreciated.
Thanks. And thanks, Nancy, for presenting. So appreciative.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.